Yeah, one moment.
Thank you. The meeting of the Committee on Strategic Planning and Budget of the Board of School Directors will please come to order. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Director Carr,
Here.
Director Garcia, I see Director Garcia on the platform. So,
Present.
okay, thank you. Director Gokul Gandhi,
Present.
Director Herndon, Director Herndon, here. Okay, we see her on the platform. Director Leonard,
Here.
Director Peterson,
Present.
Director Simpson, Director Taylor,
Present.
and Chair O'Halloran.
Present.
We have 9 present.
I will now ask the secretary to lead us in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Members, please mute your devices.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we begin tonight's meeting, we have a short announcement regarding interpretation services for the Spanish-speaking members of our audience.
Buenas tardes. Esta junta escolar se transmitirá en español para aquellas personas que lo necesiten. Para escuchar esta junta escolar en español, por favor, marque el número 312-626-6799. Repito, marque el número 312-626-6799 y ponga el número de identificación o código 608-130-5362. Repito, el código es 608-130-5362. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you. Pursuant to Board Rule 1.06, this meeting is being conducted virtually. Board members may be participating from the Central Services Building. In order to allow as much public participation as possible, this meeting is being broadcast via live stream on the MPS website and on the MPS YouTube stream, the links to which may be found on the MPS website on the broadcast page. We will now move to our items of business. As stated in the public notice, individuals who wish to speak were required to register in advance. I ask those waiting to speak to remain on the platform, please, until you are called upon. Although we are on a virtual platform, we will still follow Robert's Rules of Order, which dictates that all comments should be directed to the chair. Also, any questions or requests, including those from board members or the administration, are to be directed toward the chair, who will determine the most efficient way to address them. As always, written testimony will be accepted for transmittal to the board. Written comments may be submitted to the board via the Office of Board Governance, P.O. Box 2181, Milwaukee, Wisconsin 53201-2181, or fax to 414-475-8071, or email it to governance@milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Finally, for our listening audience, if you wish to access this evening's agenda items and attachments online, you may do so by visiting esb.milwaukee.k12.wi.us. Now let's begin. Madam Secretary, item 1.
Item 1 is consideration of and action on amendments to the preliminary adopted FY22 budget. The recommendation is that the board determine how it wishes to proceed with this item.
Madam Secretary, before we move to those, do we have any public comment tonight?
Madam Chair, we do have individuals registered to speak. Would you like to have the testimony as we consider the amendments? So the amendment number 1, or public testimony on amendment number 1, public testimony on amendment number 2, or just all public testimony and then the board consider the amendments?
Do we have that level of detail that we would be able to identify which speaker was aligned with which amendment item? Did they
Um,
register that?
We do have individuals registered to speak on item number 1. So it is my recommendation
Okay.
that we take all public testimony and then go to the amendments.
Perfect.
Okay.
We will proceed that way. So please call the first speaker.
Thank you. The first speaker on the platform is Elijah Johnson. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony. Okay, so looking at the platform, the first person that we have available is Mia Moore. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Hi, everyone. My name is, sorry about that. Okay, my apologies. My name is,
Please state your name and spell your last name and begin your testimony.
okay. My name is Mia Moore. Moore spelled Moore.
Thank you.
So during the summers, I guess during the hot summers when school, I also attend, I'm a sophomore at Rufus King High School. So during like the hot summers when we first started school, it was very hot. And it was hard for me to focus. Like I had gym as well, so I had to go outside. And just in the heat running around, like the temperatures were unbearable. And then after coming in from gym, I had Spanish class and I was just focused on me sweating. I was hot and the heat also makes me tired. So like the heat conditions at school it was bad, like to the point where some teachers brought in their own air conditioning and fans, and they got it taken away, confiscated by the school. And then some teachers didn't even put on the fan because of the noise level. So that was also frustrating to me. So during that whole process, I guess I had contacted my mom during school because it was just too hot for me. And she raised her concerns to like administration and we didn't hear anything back from them. So that was also frustrating, but I would also like to thank Director Carr for just listening to the students and the parents about our frustration and just acting on our behalf. So thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Taylor Banks. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Hello.
Hello. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Taylor Banks, Banks.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm a freshman and I also attend Rufus King High School. So as you all know, I start school August 16th. And the heat has just been like very bad lately, especially like during the summer. And when I started, like I was so hot and I was wearing shorts pretty much every day. And I had to buy my own fan. It was like a little small fan to bring around with me during school because the fans, they did not help at all. Like there were certain classes where I would sit all the way in the back and the fans would be all the way in the front or they just wouldn't reach me. So, and I get hot very quickly. So it was just very hard to just be able to pay attention in general. And it really distracted me from learning. And we had days where it was a half day because it was so hot outside. And I remember I think we had like we just had days where we had to miss a day because it was so hot outside. and it was like 80 something degrees, and it just made no sense how we just aren't able to provide, I guess, like good ACs and fans that could make sure everyone is just able to, be healthy and pay attention during class, because like no one can pay attention. And it wasn't like, it's not even just like some kids are just hot and stuff. Like every kid that I remember talking to during August and early September were just always hot and always wore shorts and would just be like freaking out every day because it was just so hot outside. So I definitely think that this is a very important conversation to talk about, because this is an important issue. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Charlene Moore. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, before I begin, I have a really quick question. We had a few students that accidentally put in the wrong email, so their emails did not, or their registration didn't go through. Is there an opportunity for them to still provide testimony?
Madam Chair?
I have no problem with it, Madam Secretary. Does technology or whomever would have to arrange that sort of assistance? Are we able to do that?
So, Ms. Moore, are the
Yes.
students near you that they could use your link?
Yeah, yes, they are.
Okay, great. So how we will do this then is, once we have gone through the list of speakers on the platform, I will call your name again, and then you can allow the students to speak. We will ensure that each one of the students gets their 2 minutes to speak, if that
I
is okay with the chair.
absolutely. Oh,
Yep.
Thank you so much. Okay. Ms. Moore, please state your name, spell your
yes.
last name, and begin your testimony.
Thank you. Charlene Moore, Sharlen Moore.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for listening to our concerns this afternoon. First of all, I'm a parent. I'm a parent of 3 high schoolers that attend Rufus King High School, as well as I'm the director of an organization called Urban Underground that works with all high school students. And I would probably say 95% of the young people that we work with attend Milwaukee Public School. I'm a proud alum. And what I'm seeing right now going on in the district, there are some things that are concerning me. When my daughter reached out to me over the summer stating that it's just extremely too hot. We had to move very quickly. I worked with Director Carr as well as several other educators to just bring a call to action to get the community involved so that they can support bringing water, fans, anything in any way to support the young people. One of the things that really was a little bit alarming was during those hot summer months, while we had a pickup location for educators to come by and pick up water, and we were right at central office, and there was an air conditioning unit that was located right outside the building to cool the entire building. And it was funny because we sat there in the hot heat. However, with so many schools not without any relief at all, our administrators made sure at our central office made sure that they were cool. And it's so alarming that we didn't think about the needs of the young people and the children. So we went over the stats. There are 1,563 classrooms. We understand the cost to provide it. The district mentioned that it's about $5,000 a unit, but we have to do something. And I urge the district to do something immediately about how we look at this for next school year.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Kane Creswell. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony. Kane Creswell.
Oh, hey, can you hear me at all? I didn't see the thing pop up.
Hi, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I'm Kane Creswell, last name Creswell.
Thank you.
I'm pretty much just advocating support for changing and I guess mostly in favor of the air conditioning units. It's a lot of people that are in these buildings being affected by this. I would say mostly in less advantaged places. It's an issue with concentration if we focus in mostly on the fact that how uncomfortable it is if we in class constantly come into an agreement that it's just an uncomfortable situation for the whole most of the periods of the day of going through class. I feel like it'd be a lot easier to concentrate if that's not so much of a roadblock. But that's pretty much all I got to contribute.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Kennedy Oldham. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Hello, my name is Kennedy Oldham, Oldham.
Thank you.
This is another opportunity for the board to address the concerns of excessive heating. I urge the board to support Director Carr's amendment to provide air conditioning in NPS early start schools. The summer days will get longer and hotter. Supporting this budget amendment is necessary if the goal is to keep children and families in the district. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker on the platform is Caleb Luter. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
My name is Caleb Luter. Last name Luter.
Thank you.
I can start. Some things about the heating problem is personally, I think it's a big health issue around the school because I know some students. I know they have asthma and sometimes their lungs they can't just breathe as normally as it is with the heat, and like the humidity around the school. And about the air quality of the school, it gets so dry in the school and the hot, and those things just combined together. It's just a no-go for like the students. Oh, and it's a lot of excessive nosebleeds that I see around the school just with all the dry and the heat. And I just think it's a big health problem around the school, especially like the assessment is to get out of class to go to the doctor, have them check you out. Maybe you have to go home if it's more like serious. I just think it's a big distraction through the whole entire school. That's like when we're at school, we need to be focused on school instead of just being, oh, I'm sweating, I'm hot. And then sometimes it might mess up the hygiene of the students. They don't have good hygiene. So it's just like, it's kind of hard for like some students to really be focused because then the hygiene can throw some kids off of the learning. I just think we need like more AC and all that throughout the school. Thank you.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, at this time, we will go back to Ms. Moore to allow the students to be able to speak. We have one last speaker that was registered, and then we will go to Ms. Moore. Ms. Pamela Holmes, please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony. Ms. Pamela Holmes.
Hello.
Hello, please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
Pamela Holmes. Last name is spelled Holmes.
Thank you.
And I am calling in favor of District Number 4, for the items that are on the agenda for the MPS students, and it relates to the air conditioning system for the heating and the cooling. And one of the things that being a former student of Milwaukee North Division High School, and one of the things that I noticed in my retirement, well, while I was working as a law enforcement officer, a lot of the heat in the school contributes to the fighting and the acting out, because people are not able to function and they can't think straight when the building is hot or their body is warm, and kids just don't necessarily properly know how to cool down, especially when they don't have access to Gatorade or Propel water, something that will cool them off or keep them cool. So that's what I wanted to contribute to what is going on with the MPS. There are other things that I would like to talk about, but that will come at a later time. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, at this time, we will return to Ms. Moore to allow the students to speak.
Okay.
Charlene Moore, please have each student state their name and spell their last name before beginning the testimony.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Here's Sanaya.
Hi, my name is Sanaya Smith, Smith. I go to Rufus King
Thank you.
High School, and I'm a sophomore. This is my first year technically back in school from being virtual last year. And I was like really shocked to see how it was like so hot in school, like going from floor to floor, or like going from multiple floors, like just coming up to like the floor that you're on, sweating and not like being able to learn when you get into your classrooms. And it was like really distraction, because like most of my focus was on, are the windows open? Does he have the fan on? Why is it so hot in here? Are other people hot in here? Instead of me being able to learn properly, which is a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. The next student, please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
My name is Nyla Carter, last name Carter.
Thank
I
you.
go to Rufus King High School, and a problem with the heat is it is hard to focus. Students passing now, having nosebleeds, and one thing I would say is like hygiene. Like the heat is a big effect on hygiene. Like sitting next to somebody and like it's really hard to focus. And yeah, it's just too hot. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, this is our last student. Thank you all so much for your patience and supporting us and making sure student voices are heard.
Thank you. Please state your name, spell your last name, and begin your testimony.
My name is Harmony Franklin, Farnklin.
Thank you.
I used to go to a public school, and now that I have transitioned to a private school, a lot of my friends go to a public school. I think that y'all need to step up y'all game and to try and put in the effort into helping the kids that goes to a public school, because I'm tired of seeing my friends and other kids going to school and it being too hot, and then y'all not having fans or air conditioning in the school. And I think y'all just need to try and put in the effort into helping the kids that go to a private school.
And we actually have one last student that I overlooked.
Hello, my name is Kendall Harris, Harris.
Thank you.
Rufus King. I am a senior, and throughout the years, throughout my years at Rufus King, how hot it's been and how it really affects our learning and how gross the environment could be, especially with these years. I mean, this year, with COVID being around and everyone having masks, it's been very humid and very hot, and our focus has not been where it needs to be.
The teachers, even they're distracted with the heat. They've been sweating and just like stopping class because they're out of breath and they're hot. And considering like walking up the stairs with the masks on and no type of air conditioning in the classrooms, it's been very hard to focus sitting down in class and trying to pretend like that's not happening when we're hyperventilating under our masks. Especially with, in my school, I don't know if that's been throughout all NPS schools, they took away some of our teachers' air conditioning, like their air conditioners that they brought from their own houses. And that just kind of made it worse with the normal house fans that have been in the classroom, not even reaching our sides of the classroom. It's just very, very gross, especially with the smells coming from certain students, and just the combination of the heat, the smells, the environment, like the lack of attention to the board and just the drowsiness and being tired. It's been very hard to focus, and it's just been making me tired and not wanting to come to school and stay in my air-conditioned house. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Chair, that completes public testimony for this evening's meeting.
Hey, thank you. And thank you to everybody who testified. We will now consider the amendments that have been proposed by board members. I will ask the secretary to call the first amendment, and then I will ask for a motion. We will then have discussion and action, and then repeat the process for each amendment. Madam Secretary, please call the first amendment.
The first amendment on tonight's agenda is amendment number 24 by Director Carr to use funds from the October district aid adjustment amounts to allocate $300 per early start classroom for the purchase of either window air conditioners or industrial fans to improve air quality.
Thank you. Director Carr, do you have any comment on your amendment? Did we lose Director Carr?
Looks like she is not on the platform. Uh-oh, I think I just got a message. She fell off of the platform.
Okay.
Let's see.
Madam Secretary, while you work to have Director Carr rejoin the platform, would it be okay to have maybe administration speak so that we don't have dead air?
So noted.
Does the administration wish to make comments?
Yes. Good evening, Chair O'Halloran and members of the committee. Keith Posley, Superintendent of Schools. This evening we're prepared to respond to any questions that you may have regarding the administration's responses to the budget amendments before you, or provide any additional information as necessary. At this time, I will ask Martha Kreisman for some further comments. Martha?
Chair O'Halloran, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. The amendment before you requests window air conditioners or industrial fans for early start schools. There are 26 early start schools that do not have air conditioning for the entire building. Altogether, this accounts for about 1,563 classrooms. The cost for window air conditioners with installation would be about $5,000 per unit for a total of about $19.5 million. The administration recommends using the $300,000 indicated in the amendment for the purchase of premium fans for early start schools by reducing school special funds by $300,000. Additional funding through fall adjustments was placed in this project to support students and schools.
Thank you.
Thank you, administration. I don't see either Madam Secretary or Director Carr on at this point.
Director Carr is dialing in.
Okay.
And so if you can go to any board members who have comments, I do see Director Taylor in the queue.
Director Taylor.
Thank you, Chair O'Halloran. Now that she's dialing in, it's fine. She'll be able to speak on it. So I was just going to try to move the conversation along. Thank you, Chair O'Halloran.
Okay, thank you, Director Carr or Director Taylor. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Chair O'Halloran, so just to clarify, the administration's recommendations to provide specialty fans, am I understanding this correctly, that this was already something that you had considered out of the school fund? Is this an allocation you had already made? So I'm just trying to understand what allocation you just referenced.
Administration, can you clarify that, please?
Chair O'Halloran, Director Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. I mentioned the school special funds, which is a project in our budget, and we had added additional funding through this fall adjustment, which you'll see on Thursday, in order to support schools and students for beyond the extra support we've already provided to the schools, and especially for like second semester supports that might be needed. So we could take from that funding and put it towards this.
Chair O'Halloran.
Thank you, administration. Director Gokul Gandhi, I see Director Carr back on the platform, so I would like to give Director Carr a chance to speak. Do you have any comments on your amendment? And we're so happy to see you on the platform again, Director Carr.
Thank you. I apologize. My computer died. Please forgive me. I did have a little bit I wanted to add, just more research to further support the amendment. I apologize. I am going to read it. But I also want to be respectful of those that were in progress, the questions that were in progress. So is it clear? Can I go? Is that okay?
Director Carr, please proceed.
All right, so I read an article from the Guardian, and it says new research is showing, that the ramifications of the excessive heat in schools is devastating. The more hot school days there are, the less students learn, and the effect is noticeably worse for students of color. The researchers found that heat doesn't affect all students the same way. When they looked at students by race, they found that Black and Hispanic students lost the most learning because of hot school days. In fact, white students were able to mitigate nearly all of the effects of hot school days, but not Black and brown students. Specifically in Milwaukee, it is estimated that white students lost about 0.8% of a year's worth of learning each school year, while Black students lost 9.3%. and Hispanic students lost 11.2%. I am demanding that we really pay attention to the outcries of the community. This is the second attempt to propose something, and I understand the amount before was not necessarily feasible, but I think we are in a position now to really put some funding into this to, if nothing else, address the concerns in a preliminary way that will not necessarily eliminate the entire issue, but respond to the outcries of the community. And so I encourage the board to support this. And if the numbers don't work, let's figure it out. Let's take the time to figure it out. But we have to respond to the needs of students and parents and teachers in the community. And this is not a doing of mine. I don't teach in the buildings. But I listen to the community, and they have been very adamant about getting their concerns addressed. And I think it's time that we put forth the effort and do whatever necessary to ensure that we're listening to them. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Carr. I see Director Taylor and Director Herndon have their hands up. I did kind of cut off Director Gokul Gandhi on her follow-up though, so I would like to go to Director Gokul Gandhi and then I'll go to Director Taylor and then Herndon. Director
Madam
Gokul
Chair?
Gandhi? Yes.
Just a matter of procedure. We would need a motion to continue conversation on the amendment. Oh,
Okay.
that's what Director Taylor was.
Director Taylor.
Thank you. I would like to move approval of this item and thank all of the students and families who came out to speak on it.
Thank you, Director Taylor.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Madam
just for
Secretary.
clarity, are you moving approval of the amendment or the administration's recommendation?
If I'm understanding from Director Carr, she was okay with the administration's recommendation. If I can get a nod, so I was approving that, Madam Clerk.
So noted.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so now we have a motion, and I think we can proceed to discussion. So I will go to Director Gokul Gandhi, and then I will go to Director Herndon. So Director Gokul Gandhi, did you have a follow-up question?
Thank you, Chair O'Halloran. Yes, I just, Ms. Kreisman, you mentioned that there were other accommodations that were made via the student fund to alleviate some of the stress. Could you list what other accommodations were made?
Administration.
Chair O'Halloran, Director Gokul Gandhi, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. The school special fund supports students in several ways. And some of the ways that we support students, as you know, is we have like stand-up funds for schools. And while we have some set aside for second semester, we also put an additional aside for special projects that may come up. For example, we've had special projects such as the Student Summit when it first started that comes up, and we don't have funding necessarily in the budget for it. So we have funding set aside for special projects. And we put an additional amount in just to make sure that we could fund the needs. And we could set aside $300,000 of that for this amendment.
Thank you, Administration. Director Herndon?
Can you hear me?
Can, yes.
You can, because there were some problems before, so that's why I'm asking. Okay, I have a question for administration, and that is, could you elaborate on the current plans using ESSER funds to go along with this item in terms of air quality and whatever air conditioning or fans or whatever that may be included in that, just for information for both myself and the public?
Administration?
Chair O'Halloran, Director Herndon, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Interim Director for Facilities and Maintenance. The ESSER funds that are for possibly ESSER 2 and 3 have some scopes that are related to mechanical systems. So if there is deferred maintenance related to a particular site that does have air conditioning, we need to make corrections. And also too, we have to make sure that the air quality with the airflow that's coming through the mechanical systems meeting the needs for code. Those are the type of items that the ESSER funded projects will be addressing.
Okay, Director Herndon?
That's good, thank you.
Okay, and then I see Directors Peterson and then Carr. Director Peterson?
Thank you very much. Just a question to the administration. The premium fans that were described, could you give, are those like box fans that many of us have in our homes? I know that as a teacher for many years, there were very hot days at different times, and I brought box fans in. One of the big problems was the noise that they emit, as do window air conditioners. And the last question I have, so one is noise. The question is, I assume I know that we have young children, kindergarten children in some of the early schools. And I often worry about fans and little fingers and what our experience or what precautions might be taken there.
Thank you, Director Peterson. Administration?
Chair O'Halloran, Director Peterson, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Interim Director for Facilities and Maintenance Services. The allotment for the $300 was part of the amendment, and we looked at, if there's something from a box fan to more of a premium unit fan, that, as Director Peterson mentioned, we're trying to find something that could be utilized in the classroom that's not going to be noisy and disruptive for the education piece that's trying to be performed in the classroom. So that was when looking online, I mean, there's something that we could work with particular state contracts or whatnot that schools, bookkeepers would be able to work through. There's principals and school leaders to make those purchases for certain units. Like you indicated, a box fan is a little noisy, but also too, from a safety standpoint with younger children, that's definitely needs to be taken into account.
Okay, thank you, Administration. Director Peterson, do you have any follow-up on that question? Okay, Director Carr.
I just wanted, and I didn't say it before. One, I had the same question about the premium, and I wanted to know the comparison between premium fans, industrial, and box fans, or if they're all of the same or different. I wanted more clarification around that. The other thing I was going to say, I do want to shout out the young people that were on the platform. And I know I'm like a little backwards, but that probably should have been the first thing I said. But I do want to publicly say that I am very appreciative of each and every one of them. We had discussions. They were very eager to be involved in the process. Self-advocacy is a thing that is not foreign to them. They do it and they do it very well. And I appreciate them for getting on the platform to advocate for themselves, for the needs of their peers, their teachers, and their communities. So I guess going back to the first question, what is the difference in the breakdown between premium, box, and industrial? Or are industrial fans considered premium fans?
Thank you, Administration.
Chair O'Halloran, Director Carr, members of the committee, Sean Kane, Interim Director, Facilities and Maintenance Services. The allotment for $300, just from taking a look into some research, that you're able to see a premium fan go anywhere from like $250 to $300. The original intent was to take a look at that, was due to the noise issue. When we were initially looking at that, if the school wanted to purchase box fans, for a smaller setting or something that's would suit their needs for their educational setting, it's allowing flexibility. Again, the original intent was taking a look at that $300 allotment as part of the amendment and taking a look what you can get for $300. I mean, if it's something that you have a big space that you're interested, as maybe Director Peterson kind of indicated earlier about, it's referred to as like a barrel fan, but again, those are very noisy. So we're trying to allow the flexibility for the schools to make their purchase what best suits their needs. So again, it was the $300 was looking at a higher end premium unit, typically $250 to $300, but again, it was less noisy.
Thank you, Administration. Do you have any other follow-up regarding that, Director Carr?
No,
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Director Simpson.
Thank you, Chair O'Halloran. So this is connected, but nothing new. So having fans in our classrooms, that adds an extra layer of noise. My question is, with our DHH students, do we have a sense of the classrooms having the sound field systems? Are we, do all of the classrooms that have DHH students have sound field systems, or is that something that we've looked at?
Administration.
Chair O'Halloran and members of the board, this is something that we will have to get back to you on, because I'm just sitting here, we're thinking around Niscara, King, and sign language school we know have, but the other schools we would have to check to give you the exact number of classrooms we're talking about there.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and like I said, I know it's connected to this issue, but just noise distractions are nothing new. So yeah, I think that just would be something to make sure that if it's not in place, we take a look at, so that information would be helpful to have. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Simpson. Do we have any other comments or questions? Director Gokul Gandhi.
I'm just curious from the administration to hear if there's been conversation about this amongst your school leaders. Has this come up in discussions during principal meetings? I'm just curious to hear where else this concern is coming from and if you've heard it.
Administration?
Chair Halloran, members of the board, we have not had per se this particular conversation at our PLI. However, I had a group of principals in today, and we just talked about a number of different things, as well as got another group that's coming in on tomorrow. This is something that I could inquire about a little bit deeper, but this is not a conversation that we have had. Back when it was this summer, we have had conversations with leaders about, what we need to do around cooling and those kinds of things. And that was this whole thing around making sure we had water for all of our young people, making sure they got as plenty breaks as possible, making sure that they had a fan in a cooling down location in the building. So those kinds of things are steps that we take in order to make sure that we are prepared for the heat.
Thank you, administration. Director Gokul Gandhi, do you have any follow-up on that? No. Okay. I see Director Carr and then Director Garcia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To answer the question, also, I would say to answer Director Gokul's question, I think the issue here is that everyone is not impacted greatly. It's more so the children and the educators. And so I think the real question is, what have been the response or the remarks or the feedback from those that are in the classrooms teaching, including the children and the educators? I just wanted to put that out there. I think, so the point that was presented during the testimonies, someone referenced that there was a rental unit outside of central offices to cool the entire building. And I understand employees of central office are year round for the most part, and that it's needed. But I think that sends a different message when our children and our educators are suffering due to excessive heat in the classrooms and our administrative buildings are cool. And if you do walkthroughs through a lot of the schools, what I have observed, I'll say, is that principals' offices, main offices are cool because of air conditioning or industrial fans. That's not the case in the classrooms. So I think the real people that are impacted were those that spoke today and the educators. And I think that's where the conversation starts. And if I'm being honest, I think that's where it ends.
Thank you. Director Garcia?
Hello. First of all, I wanted to thank the youth that came out for public testimony. As a general myself, I understand what it means to be in that classroom in those hot months. So I hear you, I feel you. I got flashbacks to my time at King. But with that said, I just wanted to make sure I understood correctly that, this specific proposal is asking for $300,000 to be used for the air conditioning. But in reality, if we're using the $300 per early start classroom, there's still the $160, almost $9,000. And we're pulling that from the October District 8, or where is that extra, I guess, to get us to the 468,000 mark coming from? I just want to make sure I understand that.
Thank you, Director Garcia. So I think since we are at this point, I think the motion was made based upon administration's recommendation or response. My apologies. Administration's response. Can you just walk us through the response one more time, just so we're all on the same page, please, administration?
Chair O'Halloran, Director Garcia, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. The administration recommends using the $300,000 to purchase premium fans for early start schools by reducing school special funds by $300,000. And in the budget adjustment for the fall, we had added 822, a little over 822,000 to school special funds, so we could reduce that.
Does it, or do you have any follow-up, Director
I guess my
Garcia?
question is, with that amount, we're able to give the 1,563 classrooms that need one, like we'd be able to purchase a fan for all those classrooms?
Administration?
Chair O'Halloran, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay,
Director
thank
Garcia, are you, is that?
That's perfect. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Do we have any more comments or questions on this item? See none. Will the secretary please call the roll?
On Director Taylor's motion to approve amendment number 24 with the administration's recommendation for funding and allocation. Director Carr,
Aye.
Director Garcia,
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi,
Aye.
Director Herndon,
Aye.
Director Leonard,
Aye.
Director Peterson,
Aye.
Director Simpson,
Aye.
Director Taylor,
Aye.
and Chair O'Halloran.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, the next amendment, please.
The next amendment is amendment number 5 by Director Taylor, is to use funds from the October District Aid Adjustment to restore the position of Children's Court Liaison. Director Taylor,
Director Taylor, do you have any comment on your amendment?
Sure, and I'll try to make it quick. Thank you, Chair O'Halloran. This is a position that the school district had at one point and it went away. I don't know exactly what happened to it, but this position was very vital in helping our families and our babies dealing with the juvenile justice system, as well as when they were transitioning out, we ensured that they had a place to come back to within MPS, meaning we were getting our babies back in education being a vital point of this. I just feel like we just recently passed dismantling the school to prison pipeline. These two align and go hand in hand, and also gives us a chance to help those families and those students out as well too, and keeping them within MPS as they transition back out. I would like to move approval of this motion as well.
Thank
Madam
you,
Chair,
Director Taylor. Yes,
just for clarity, you're moving approval of the administration's recommendation relative to the amendment and funding allocation.
Absolutely. Mine was board governance. It's going to go to student services, which it makes perfect sense because they are the ones that have to work within and work with our babies. So yes.
So noted.
thank you, Director Taylor. Does the administration wish to make comments?
Chair O'Halloran, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. The amendment requests adding a Children's Court Liaison position. The administration recommends placing the Children's Court Liaison in the Department of Student Services to support student assignment and reentry procedures and support. The position will enhance work the Department of Student Services currently performs. The administration further recommends that the funding for the position comes from school special funds. Additional funding through fall adjustments was placed in this project to support students in schools. Thank you.
Thank you, administration. Since we already have a motion, I am going to turn to board comments and questions. I saw Director Garcia's hand up first, but I think it may be a carryover from the previous item. So then I saw Director Carr, Peterson, and Leonard. So in that order, please. Director Carr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to say, communicate my support of this. I work with this population, specifically of young people who are transitioning from juvenile detention facilities or correctional facilities, and the services, the support, not only to the students, but the families. There's a grave need for it. And it's not an easy system to navigate. And so being present and having those internal supports to be able to support them, I guess, through the transition back into full-time studies and whatnot, I think it's critical. So thank you, Director Taylor, for taking the lead on this. And I am in support. I think this is critical to the advancement of many agendas, specifically being the one to get them back on track and in school. So thank you.
Thank you, Director Carr. Director Peterson?
Yes, I'm curious. I'm going to ask some questions of the administration. When was this position eliminated, and who and what department of the district has been doing the work since that position was eliminated? Because I know that the position was eliminated, but my understanding is that somebody was still doing the relationship work, and I'd like to, I have a follow-up question once I get those answers.
Okay, we'll start with those two. Administration?
Yeah. Chair O'Halloran and members of the committee, Matthew Boswell, Senior Director of Department of Student Services. The position was eliminated about 4 years ago in 2017. And upon its elimination, the work was absorbed by the Department of Student Services.
Thank you, administration. Director Peterson, you mentioned a follow-up.
Yeah, so the work was absorbed by the department. What will the people who are doing that work currently, they will be they'll be assigned to other work within your department because this new person will be taking over their work, or is it more than one person who does the work? I'm just curious. I assume there's ebbs and flows in terms of the number of families who need help at certain times versus other.
Administration?
Chair O'Halloran, members of the committee, yes, that was done by committee, meaning that just it was spread throughout the department. This was additional assignments, so they will continue their job as always in terms of enrollment services. This was just an additional add-on because of the elimination of the position.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Madam
Members
Secretary.
of the committee, just to give a little bit more background information, the position of Children's Court Liaison was initially established in the Office of Board Governance, and that was for a direct report to the board as to how students would be transitioning back into the district after leaving the juvenile justice system. And that position then transferred to Student Services, and there was a dedicated individual who was stationed out at the Vel Phillips Court Center to be able to assist families transitioning back to school on a full-time basis. The major purpose of positioning the person out at Children's Court would be to assist families as they go through the juvenile justice process, and also ensure that they are enrolled in school before leaving that building as a condition of probation. So that is a full-time position that is stationed out at Children's Court, reporting directly back to the board on a monthly basis.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Director Peterson, you look perplexed. Do you have a follow-up specific to this, or should we move on? And now you're on mute.
The clarification by Dr. Mann talked about the report back to the board. My understanding, though, is that this person will be under this working with Student Services. I think that's, but obviously doing that work exclusively. And I appreciate Director Taylor's leadership on this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Peterson. Director Leonard.
So first of all, I just need to have
little bit of clarification. So this person is going to be dedicated for that purpose, and they're not going to be drawn into a lot of other directions. Is that correct?
Administration or
Sure.
director? Yeah,
Cheryl
administration.
Halloran and members of the committee, we have the job description, and that person will fulfill the previous job description that was laid out some years ago, and actually goes as far back as 2007 with some of the ideas that I'm looking at a memo now that was drafted at that particular time. And all those duties and responsibilities will be given to that individual to do that on a daily basis, the same way it was done in the past.
Thank you, administration. Director Leonard, do you have any follow-up?
Just a statement. So I worked with it. I worked with the juvenile that department for 7 years in the summers. So I do know that the court liaison makes it a much better, more efficient system. I remember when we switched over and stopped using them, there was a direct effect for those of us that worked in middle schools. So Director Taylor, I really liked looking at your proposal and was excited about it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Leonard. Director Gokul Gandhi.
Can you talk about the caseload numbers? So how many young people was this position helping when we had it? And do you have a projected number of students that this person will be helping should the position become available again?
Administration.
Chair O'Halloran, members of the committee, no, you do not have any direct number because you cannot detail how many our students may go into the juvenile justice system. Some months it may be very heavy, some months it may be a little light, some years it may be extremely heavy, and some years it may not be as much. But it is a valuable position in terms of bridging that gap for our students, and that's the way that we approach it.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Madam Secretary.
members of the committee, being a member of the Juvenile Justice Committee, there's approximately 23 cases going in front of the Children's Court judge on a regular basis. And that is for students who are leaving incarceration, coming back to report their status on education and other things. So it had been an average of about 23 students as of last school year. At the end of last school year, about 23 cases going in front of the judge per day.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Director Gokul Gandhi, do you have any follow-up? Okay. And then I see Director Garcia's hand.
Yes, I just wanted to call to question.
Oh. All right. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director Taylor's motion to move approval of amendment number 25 with the funding source as recommended by the administration and the direction for placement of the position. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair O'Halloran.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. The next amendment, please.
The next amendment is amendment number 26 by Director O'Halloran, which is to allocate funds for 2 positions that would provide coordination and support services between MPS and the MPS Foundation in a liaison capacity.
I'm going to just pass the gavel to Vice Chair Leonard.
So noted.
So,
Director O'Halloran, you want to speak to your item?
thank you, Vice Chair Leonard. Yes, so it was brought to my attention just fairly recently that we have a small but mighty team in our MPS Foundation, and it's really a staff of 2 trying to raise funds for 150 schools. And comparatively, I think Madison has 14 members on their foundation. I think I heard nationally there's, it might be Denver has 50 people on their staff or their foundation. So I think we are possibly doing a disservice to our students when we start looking at some of their needs and having two people tasked. I joke with turning over every rock in Milwaukee. It's just, there are certain to be some rocks that are left unturned. And as we can see, even through these ESSER conversations where people hear the number 500 million and it just goes by so quickly. The needs are so great in our schools. And so I put forward for two positions. I find the administration's response acceptable for one administrative position. So I would be in favor of that, just to assist with some of the coordination of activities to allow our resource development team to really perform at their highest caliber. And I would hope that going forward, we can consider assisting with more. I know that this potentially could be a self fundraising position essentially at some point, but we need to invest in order to reach that point. And so I would ask for my colleagues' support for this amendment, please.
Administration, you'd like to speak to the item?
Vice Chair Leonard, members of the committee, Martha Kreitzman, Chief Financial Officer. The amendment requests two positions to provide coordination and support between MPS and the MPS Foundation. Currently, MPS pays for two positions in the MPS Foundation, one of which is the director. The administration recommends putting aside $132,128 to fund one position by reducing the vacancy adjustment.
I see Director Carr's hand up. Director Carr.
Thank you. And thank you, Director O'Halloran, for taking the lead on this. My question is, how will this position be sustained? I see that the dollar amount that has been allocated is $132,000, yet the position's salary alone is $86,000. So that's not even, 2 years. How will this be sustained? It's barely that. How will we sustain this? Because this is an issue long term. And I think investing in the foundation is going to be important to increase the resources and support that comes to the district. So what's our sustainability plan?
Administration.
Vice Chair Leonard and members of the board, one of the things that we are doing is making sure that this funding with ESSER, and this will be funded throughout that limit of time. And then we're looking at other avenues of how we can increase numbers in the foundation. We've been in conversation with Madison, been in conversations with the Council of Great City Schools. But when you look at a lot of those other foundations, they have a number of groups of individuals that are linked into the foundation, such as like alumni affairs or various areas that are focused. We got to take a closer look at what we're doing and seeing how can we repurpose and maybe move some of the offices that they are responsible for in some of those foundations over. There's some of those things. There's a direct line to, as far as alumni giving and those kinds of things, and then alumni affairs and how we stay in touch with alumni after they leave the district. A number of those kinds of things that we're looking at. And we're going to continue to look for ways to find ways to be able to support staff in the foundation. But for right now, this will cover throughout the ESSER dollars and looking at continuing to go forward.
Director Carr, do you have any follow-up questions?
No, I actually stand corrected. I misread it. That did answer my overall question. Thank you, administration.
And Director Peterson. You're on mute.
I'd like to call the question.
Okay. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll? Oh, sorry, Director O'Halloran.
That's okay. I don't actually believe a motion has been made yet. So I was going to move. Did we have a motion? I move we accept administration's recommendation and approve this amendment as explained in administration's response.
Okay. Does this need to be seconded or no?
Not at the committee level.
Okay, thank you. So Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
On Director O'Halloran's motion to approve amendment number 26 to allocate funds for a position to the to support the MPS Foundation as in a liaison capacity between MPS and the MPS Foundation. Moving approval of the amendment with the funding source and position allocation as outlined by the administration. Director Carr.
Aye.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Director Gokul Gandhi.
Aye.
Director Herndon.
Aye.
Director Leonard.
Aye.
Director Peterson.
Aye.
Director Simpson.
Aye.
Director Taylor.
Aye.
And Chair O'Halloran.
Aye.
That's 9 ayes. The motion passes.
Madam Secretary, the next amendment, please.
Madam Chair, that was the last amendment on this item.
Well, thank you so much. With that, this meeting concludes, and everybody have a great night.
Good
See you
night.
Thursday.
Thank you.